Hey everyone, this is Hashem from Pushing Film. Now I just finished developing a roll of JCH Street Pan 400 film, and I just thought I'd do a quick video about why I think that you should develop your own black and white film. Initially, I didn't want to develop my own film. I just thought that it was too hard. I assumed it was too difficult and expensive and that you needed a dark room and a lot of other things. But then I spoke to a few people who convinced me that it wasn't the case. So when I found out that it wasn't that bad, I thought I'd give it a try. Now, I still use a lab for my color film and large amounts of work that I do for weddings and other paid jobs like that. So I still recommend supporting your local lab, but if you shoot black and white fairly often, definitely worth it. But if you only shoot black and white maybe a few times a year, then it might not be worth investing in the equipment. So what you need is a Patterson tank or any developing tank. I recommend the Patterson tank because it's easy to find on the market and it's easy to load with the spools that come included, in my experience at least anyway. Also, you're going to need a dark bag, which is one of these. That's what you're going to use to transfer your film from the canister onto the spool, which is here. So that is probably the trickiest part of the process, but once you get past that, it's not that bad. And I recommend sacrificing a roll of film like I did with this one, which you can use to practice whenever you need to. The next thing you're going to need is chemicals. So you're going to need some developer, which I've pre-mixed here. I recommend going with a universal type of developer that's easy to find and cheap, like D76 when you're starting off. And you're going to need stop bath, but you can actually skip that and just use some water with maybe a little bit of white vinegar. The next thing you're going to need is some fixer, which is like that, Ilford Rapid Fixer. Highly recommend that, and it's not that hard to find. Other items you might need are things like some scissors, a little can opener here, if your camera doesn't leave the film sticking out of the can like that. So you'll use that to crack the can open. Some distilled water will come in handy for the final rinsing stage. A thermometer is also good for monitoring your temperatures. I bought all my stuff pretty cheap on Gumtree for less than 50 bucks. I just bought it all in a batch with an enlarger and a whole bunch of other things. So I highly recommend looking online on places like Gumtree, eBay, and maybe going on Facebook groups like the Australian Film Photographers. Once you have everything you need, the process itself isn't that hard. The trickiest thing is getting the film onto the spool like I mentioned. So if you're gonna waste a roll to practice on, what it actually involves is getting everything inside your bag, sticking your arms in, and working blind, which is a matter of feeling around for the edge of the film and then feeding it onto the canister here without looking, obviously. And once you get used to it, it's actually not that hard. So I've just done that there, and then you're gonna have the loose roll like that, and you're just gonna work it by cranking that spool until it feeds the whole roll onto that. And if you have a camera that rewinds it all back into the can, like I mentioned, you can use a traditional can opener apparently, but I haven't had success with that. So I just bought the proper tool for it by Ilford there, which you use to crack the top of the film can open and get the spool out. So you'll be working with that inside the bag. So once you've done that inside the bag, you get it into the tank and you close the inside lid, which looks like that, and it clips on. Once you've done that, you can take the tank out and you can work out in the open. At that point, it's just a matter of pouring in your chemicals step by step, following a recipe and monitoring some times and temperatures, which you'll look up for the film you're using. So really, it's not that bad. And the next step is just rinsing your film, drying it, and maybe if you have access to a scanner, scanning it, or venturing into the darkroom, which I also highly recommend. So there's not many reasons not to try it if you shoot a fair bit of black and white film. So we are going to do a video on developing your own black and white soon, and we're eventually going to even maybe try a color video, but the black and white one will be coming sooner. What I recommend doing until then is maybe in the next few weeks, see if you can go out and buy a bunch of developing equipment and chemicals for a good price, or you can even just buy it new if you want, and maybe shooting some black and white film, so that by the time we do that video, you can watch the second part to this, where we take you through the whole process step by step. So thanks for watching my video, and we'll see you next time.